It's a very ambiguous word that inspires multiple souls. Or is it that feeling that a small 6 inches anglerfish had when it had to swim 1,900 feet deep within the ocean, where even light wouldn't reach, just to feel the sunlight and rest in the peace of it? Or is it that feeling that we all hold, that someone out there will come here and repair the mess that we have made on this planet Earth? November 20th, a day that still casts a shadow over my heart. The day started with all the National Cadet Corps students assembling in the auditorium. Do you know why? Because that day was the final announcement of all the cadets that were going to be there on the Republic Day. That was the final selection. All the cadets sat there with their chest numbers on. I was 208. Me and my best friend sat together praying hard that we'd both get selected. And just like that, the countdown had begun. 201, 202, 203, 208. I'm 208. I get up, excited and happy that I got selected, that I made it to the Republic Day parade. I walked towards my seat, and just as I was about to take my seat, an officer turns towards me and he says, "Oh, hold on. I'm sorry. I meant to say 209 and not 208. That's when I realized I didn't make it to the Republic Day parade. I didn't get selected for the Republic Day parade. I turned back, went back to my seat and sat down. And my mind was completely blank. I didn't know what to think and I was blank. And at that moment, to my surprise, I was not crying. I was smiling. I don't know why. Finally, an hour passes by, the selection is over, and we're all sent back to our dorms. The first thing I did was I called my sir. I was still smiling. I don't know why. But the minute my sir picked up the phone, all he had to do was say hello. Because the minute he said hello, I completely broke down. I had tears all over my face. I said, "Sir, I swear to God, I didn't cry until you said hello. I swear to God, I didn't cry until I heard your voice." I heard your voice and that was enough. And I realized I didn't make it. I realized that it was done. And I didn't know what to do. It took me back to the same time I won a silver medal and not a gold medal. I've attended around 8 camps. And each camp, I worked tirelessly, given it everything I had. Day and night, I prepared just to find out that I am not going to be there on 26th of January. And on that day when I got rejected, my heart completely sank. My mom and my dad, they came to Madurai to pick me back to Coimbatore. And during that car journey, all I wanted to do was play that one song on repeat very loud so they would ask me nothing about NCC. And yet they did. And during that time when the same song played over and over again, that one question, "Why God, why me? Why not anybody else? There were hundreds of cadets there, yet I was the one to get rejected. Why me?" That question went over and over again in my head. My dad, he was a little annoyed by this behavior. So he stopped the car in the middle of nowhere. And there were no bikes or trucks passing by. There were mountains everywhere. He stopped the car, we got down. And he turns towards me and he says, "Scream." Anger filled my entire body. Yet every time I tried to scream, there was only air coming out. There was only more tears coming out, yet I couldn't scream. My dad, he saw this, and he himself had 2 teardrops in his eyes. That was the first time had I ever seen my own father cry. This has taught me 2 things. One, a macho male or a macho female is not someone that can deadlift 400 kgs. It's not someone that can have 6 packs. It's not someone that can have big biceps. It's someone that can cry. It's someone that can embrace their feelings. It's someone that can think, I too can have feelings like this. 2, your failure or your success is not just yours alone. It's everybody who is behind it. Your friends, your family, your teachers, anybody who is behind that. Even today, every time when I get down the bus and I'm walking towards my house, my mom stands in the window and she tries to salute like the other NCC cadets would. People think that if I fall down today, I have gotten far away from the goalpost. Trust me, guys, you've only gotten closer to the goalpost. When a part of me told myself that I can't even make it past the first camp, it's the same part of me that's not afraid to dream bigger. It's not afraid to fall because I can rebuild myself. I can find hope. And sometimes to find hope, all you need to do is to trust the process and smile. Speaking about smile, I was once traveling in a flight and there was a small little girl sitting across me. And just as the flight was about to land, the wheels of the flight would not come out. So we had to take off mid-air. Now this was very scary and the turbulence became very bad. Everybody was screaming. Everybody was petrified. Some were praying. That little girl, she was sitting just like that. She took out her book. She read a line. She closed the book. She looked out the window. She shook her head. She opened the book, read the same line again, closed the book, looked out the window, and shook her head. Finally, the turbulence got over. We all landed safely. Everybody was celebrating, happy, and so excited that they survived. The little girl was reading the same line again. The man sitting next to her turns towards her and he asks, "Daughter?" Everybody in the flight was scared, worried for their soul if they would survive. How did you keep your cool? You were not scared? Of course not, sir. I was not scared. You were completely chill? I was completely chill. How were you so happy? How were you so cool? So she says, "Well, the pilot of this flight is my father. And he wants me to survive more than anybody in this flight." Guys, when one knows that the pilot of our life is our friend, is our teacher, is our family, is our mother, is our father, then what's there to worry? When a 5-year-old can find happiness and 1 5-year-old can smile amidst all that turbulence, why can't we find hope when we're despondent or depressed? You know what happens when a baby giraffe is born? It falls from such a great height with such a big thud on the floor. You know what's the first thing the mother does? She positions herself next to the baby giraffe. The first thing she does is she kicks her child. She kicks her child very hard that it falls meters away from the mother. The baby is just born. It doesn't even know what a kick is and it's already being kicked. It falls very far away. The mother goes to the child and kicks it again. The baby is scared. It doesn't know what to do. It's shivering. It tries to get up, but it falls. The mother goes to the child and kicks it again. The baby falls down more further away. Trembling, its soul shivering, the mother goes to the child again and kicks it. This time, the baby gets up. It was scared. The legs of it were shaking, but it stood up. The mother goes to the child and kicks it one more time very hard. The baby falls down, but it's angry. With its wobbly legs, it gets up, but it doesn't stop there just by getting up. No, it runs. This time the baby giraffe runs. And now the mother goes back to the child. She hugs it and she kisses it. Do you know why the mother did this? The flesh of the baby giraffe is very sweet. The hyenas and the tigers, they love it. The mother knows that she can't always be with her child. She needs to go get food for the child. Who will protect the baby? That's why the first thing she taught her child was to run. Life's mother is similar to the mother of the giraffe. It kicks her so many times, but it also teaches you to get up. And that's why I say, don't just go through life, grow through life. How many of you have tried something very hard, endlessly tried so much and still failed? How many of you have got a silver medal and not a gold medal? How many of you have got 99 marks out of 100? Okay, I haven't. Let me tell you another story. There was once a king and a minister. They were walking down an alley. And when they were walking, they came across a family, a farmer, along with his wife and son, and they were beaming with joy. So much life in them. Their faces were radiant. They were happy. They were dancing. They were singing. And they were having so much fun. The king turns towards the minister and he says, "Man, I have a massive palace. I have everything one can dream for, and yet these guys look more happier than me. Why?" The minister says, "This family is not an official member of the 99 Club." The king asks, What is the 99 Club? The minister says, "So you give me 99 gold coins, I'll tell you what's a 99 Club." So the king gives him a bag of 99 gold coins. The minister takes the bag of 99 gold coins and tells the king, "I'll tell you after 6 months and not today." The minister takes the bag of 99 gold coins and keeps it at the doorstep of the farmer. Next day, the farmer gets up. Excited as he was, he opens the bag. And gosh, lo and behold, glittering gold coins. He had never come across such good stroke of fortune. He'd emptied the contents on the floor and started counting. 1, 2, 3, 99. So he starts thinking, okay, I would have made a mistake. Let me count again. And so he does. 1, 2, 3, 99. So he starts yelling, "God, who is that idiot who forgot to put one more gold coin? If someone is planning on giving me so much money, shouldn't they at least make it a round figure? Why 99? So he's like, "Let me call my wife." And he calls his wife, and now she starts counting 99. So he says, "Even your math is wrong." He calls his son. The son starts counting again 99. Everyone 99. So he starts yelling, "God, we can't live like this. We have to make this 100. And it would take him months and years to get that one gold coin. It would take him days and weeks to get that one gold coin. So now his wife starts thinking, "My husband, he's such a nut. We have 99 gold coins at home and this guy doesn't want to spend anything." So she takes 2 gold coins and goes for shopping. Every day the farmer would come back and he would count the gold coins. And this day when he came back, only 97. First we were 1 coin away and now we're 3 coins away. So he starts yelling, "God, I am toiling, working day and night to get that 1 gold coin and you nut just spend 2 more. So she says, "Well, I'm not a nut like you. I want to go do some shopping, so I spent it." Meanwhile, son also spends 2 more, only 95 left. 6 months had passed by. The king and the minister, they walked down the same alley. This time, the beam had gone, the joy had gone, the love had gone, the song was gone, the dance had gone. There was only fights and arguments and bickering. The king, he turns towards the minister and he asks, "What happened? How did so much change in just 6 months?" The minister says, "Well, this family is an official member of the 99 Club." The king asks, "What is the 99 Club? You took 99 gold coins from me. What is the 99 Club?" The minister says, "Well, a 99 Club is a club of those who have 99 gold coins, but in running behind that one, in trying to reach 100, they forget to utilize the 99 that we have with them." The farmer had 99 gold coins with them, yet in trying to reach 100, he never really valued the 99 that he had with him. I've learned one thing in my life, and I thoroughly believe in it. Happiness is a journey. It's not a destination. You guys can start finding happiness while you're at the journey. You don't have to wait for the destination. Today, I might be in the greatest chaos of all my life. That does not mean I should postpone my satisfactions to then. Today, I might be in the greatest challenge of all my life. That does not mean I should postpone my happiness to then. Happiness is a journey and not a destination. Whether you're driving a Lamborghini or you take an auto rickshaw, the road remains the same, doesn't it? Whether you're flying business or you're flying first class, the destination remains the same, doesn't it? Whether you're calling your mom through an iPhone or you're calling her through a landline, your mother remains the same, doesn't she? A table, a chair, all this has utility value and not happiness value. Yet, we run behind things that give us utility happiness and not actual happiness. Every time you choose to get up, every time you choose to just get up and keep going with the flow, you contribute not just to yourself, but the entire world around you. Every time that you think that I can do it, something will happen. People think that if I fail, it's done. It's game over. You can be despondent. You can be in utter darkness. You can be completely depressed, but also with the firm grit, you can come out of it. Because every problem out there does have a solution. Yes, every problem does have a solution. Because why? Why would a lockmaker ever make a lock without a key? People think that the best thing I can do when I fail is end my life. The problem to your solutions is not ending your life. It's finding the key. And sometimes when you're too engulfed by all that negativity, you can't see the key. And in going behind that success, in trying to achieve something, you will fall, you will fail, and that's okay. But remember to get up, and relight that spark. You know the rest by heart. Thank you.